This channel is sponsored by the Army Painter.
Move over, Gladius. The real Ultramarines detachment is here, and it's, well, basically just Gladius again. The Blade of Ultramar gives Ultramarines the same variant detachment treatment that the other recent Space Marine chapters got, taking an existing detachment and giving it a chapter-specific spin, this time by leaning on Marneus Calgar. How will this slightly shootier and slightly less choppy variant of Gladius shake out? Well, stay tuned and we'll find out exactly how sharp the Blade of Ultramar is. For detachment focuses, codex reviews, and hobby tutorials, subscribe to us here on YouTube. To read more, head to goonhammer.com. Link in the description. Detachment Rule: Mastered Doctrines. At the start of your command phase, pick one of the combat doctrines listed below. Until the start of your next command phase, that combat doctrine is active and its effects apply to all Space Marine units in your army. You can only pick each one once per game unless a friendly Marneus Calgar unit is on the battlefield. Devastator Doctrine: Your units can shoot after advancing. Tactical Doctrine: Your units can shoot and declare a charge after falling back. Assault Doctrine: Your units can charge after advancing. These are three incredibly good abilities, and each has its own uses and timing. Devastator tends to be good early on when you want to get into position onto objectives without giving up shooting, and it's great on units like Vindicators and Centurions, which have shorter range or less movement. Assault Doctrine is huge for making early charges from further away, or helping an otherwise slow unit like Aggressors or Centurions close the gap in a crucial moment. Tactical is always useful as well for thwarting an opponent's plans, and you'll find that these have additional benefits when it comes to the detachment stratagems. In short, this detachment basically lets you do anything you need, when you need it, staying mobile the entire time. Mobility is life in 40k, and this detachment ensures that you're never giving it up in exchange for damage output. Calgar further ups your versatility here by giving you access to any of these whenever you want, in addition to the flexibility offered by his own abilities and the detachment rule. If you're running this detachment, you better be running Calgar. Note that you don't have to pick a doctrine each turn, and since there's only 3 of them, you should save them for when they're most valuable. Compared to the Gladius task force, this detachment tends to favor shooting armies a little bit more, so you'll likely be leaning more on Devastator and Tactical doctrines when you play with this detachment. There are some solid enhancements here, but which ones you'll want will depend heavily on how you've built your army. They're all just reskins of the ones from Gladius Task Force. The Armor of Antonius, which I'm going to call Tony's Plate, is a straightforward upgrade for any character, giving them a 2-up save and a 5-up Feel No Pain. It's a significant defensive boost, but not necessarily something you need all that often, given that your characters usually have 4-up invulnerable saves or Feel No Pains in the case of the Combi Weapon Lieutenant. Still, it's a fun one on a Gravis Captain. Oath of Macragge buffs the attacks and strength of a character by 1 or by 2 in the Assault Doctrine. It's a solid buff on melee characters, but given that this detachment is going to be more focused on shooting units and epic heroes than Gladius, it's probably not going to be quite as prevalent as the equivalent in the Gladius task force. Student of the Codex fixes its Gladius equivalent, lifting the restriction on captains only and letting any type of character and their unit always be in the Tactical Doctrine. This works even if you've already used the Tactical Doctrine this game or no other doctrine is active, giving a unit some added flexibility. Veteran of Behemoth gives sustained hits 1 to ranged weapons in the bearer's unit, and lets them reroll advanced rolls in the Devastator Doctrine. It combos especially well with Exemplary Vigilance to further bolster a unit's output in the Devastator Doctrine. Because Blade of Ultramar is a more shooting-focused detachment, you want to build around this more than you would in Gladius. You have a flexible toolbox of stratagems here, and 3 of them key off of your currently active doctrine. These are mostly reskin stratagems from Gladius, and between Guilliman, Calgar, and Captains, you should have more than enough command points to play with. Armor of Contempt is an old stalwart, reducing the AP of incoming attacks by 1 for an activation. It's still plenty useful, even if it's not the no-brainer it used to be. Tactical Foresight replaces only in Death Does Duty End from Gladius, and is instead just a solid defensive buff. In the shooting or fight phase, if an attacking unit's strength is greater than your toughness, they get -1 to their wound rolls. The fact that this works on vehicles and lasts for an entire phase make it kinda crazy. If you're able to combine it with cover or other defensive stratagems like Armor of Contempt or Smokescreen, Tournament Organizer willing, it can really stonewall an attack. Courage and Honor gives the unit Lance and improves the AP of their melee weapons by 1 if you're in the Assault Doctrine. Getting better wound rolls in AP is a great way to punch up, especially on Blade Guard, Aggressors, or Assault Intercessors. Ultramarine Adaptivity is an on-demand doctrine for a single unit, letting them be under the effect of a doctrine from your command phase until your next one. The obvious use cases are to keep a single unit in the Assault or Devastator doctrine, to combine with Courage and Honor or Exemplary Vigilance respectively, but it can also be handy for when you just want to use a doctrine ability on a single unit without wasting the entire doctrine. One command point is a steal for this, and it's a great use for your captain's reduced cost ability. Exemplary Vigilance lets the unit ignore cover with its ranged weapons and improves your AP by 1 in the Devastator doctrine. Stacking this with the Fire Discipline enhancement is how you get one of the most powerful combos in the detachment, and you can use a captain to guarantee that you get the full effect every turn, even if you only have the single start of turn command point to work with. Practical Tactics lets an infantry or mounted unit make a d6-inch reactive move when an enemy unit ends their move within 9 inches, or you can make a full 6-inch move if you're in the Tactical Doctrine. Get out of charge range, push onto an objective, move block a unit, or just hide. It's got a ton of utility, even if that d6-inch move can be a little risky. This is going to play like a shootier Gladius most of the time. Your playstyle is going to be flexible. You can do a bit of everything and have a fighting chance with it. And Tactical Doctrine means that you've got a get out of jail free card if your units get tagged by a melee army. You'll want to be strategic about how you use your doctrines early. Avoid popping them before you need them, or using an entire doctrine if the Ultramarine Adaptivity Stratagem will do. Because you can choose whatever doctrine you want, whenever you want, you don't need to worry about sequencing, and can instead just sit in Devastator all game, getting extra movement and shooting on Repulsors, Gladiators, and Vindicators, then using Tactical Doctrine when you get tagged to fall back and shoot them. Your army still has plenty of melee punch between Courage and Honor, Assault Doctrine, and Tactical Doctrine, but you'll need to play a little more cagey without Gladius's Fight on Death stratagem, which can force your opponent to make some pretty gnarly trades. In exchange for that, the ability to blunt incoming attacks with -1 to wound on vehicles means that this detachment is going to take a more shooty approach than Gladius. That said, Guilliman, Calgar, and the Victrix Guard still all love being in this detachment, while Aggressors let you kinda do it all as they advance and shoot their way up the table, but are still able to punch decently in melee. The ability to advance and shoot or charge with your army means you're typically going to be punished less for holding units in strategic reserves. While slower units arriving from a table edge might otherwise struggle to close gaps to their targets or objectives the turn after arriving, you'll often have the extra movement you need to get into position without losing damage output. That's a big deal, which can help make short-range shooting units like Eradicators or Vindicators more useful if you need to protect them early. Now let's go over the strengths and weaknesses. Flexibility. You can do pretty much everything. You can advance and charge, fall back and charge, or advance and shoot, and you've got a variety of buffs for each. Speed. When you need to scoot, you can do it, and this detachment more or less gives you at least 2 turns of advancing without having to worry about the downsides. Defense. Between Armor of Contempt and Tactical Foresight, you've got some solid tools for protecting your units from ranged and melee attacks. Now unfortunately, while you've got a lot of ways to move around the table, you don't have any ways to go back into reserves, leaving this one at a disadvantage compared to some of the other detachments. It's a jack of all trades. It does a lot of things well, but at the expense of focusing on one thing more. If you want more shooting in vehicles, Ironstorm could be a better bet, and if you want to go heavier in melee, you've got other, better options. Vanguard also does movement and mission play a little better than this one. Enhancements. The enhancements here are just alright. You could take them or leave them. We were worried at the thought of an upgraded Gladius detachment hitting after new Calgar dropped, but fortunately this one is enough of a side grade that we don't think it'll emerge as some kind of big problem. Gladius is still the strongest competitive option for most Marine armies, and even for Ultramarines, you'll often want the ability to fight on death over -1 to wound and triple doctrines from Calgar. That's certainly nice to have, but not super crucial given your ability to recycle doctrines for command points with Ultramarine adaptivity. Losing out on that fight on death stratagem also means that the looming threat of multiple maxed out Victrix Guard squads shouldn't be much of a problem here, especially since you can't double up on that -1 to wound if they've already got a character with them. Still, if you're running Calgar, this one's worth looking at. If you want to read more about this detachment and check out some sample lists, head over to goonhammer.com. Now why don't you devastate that subscribe button and support us on Patreon to ensure that we keep making videos like this one. You also get Discord access, extra features in tabletop battles like tracking which doctrines you've used, plus bonus podcasts. I've been Marnius McCalgar, encouraging you all to go beyond plus ultra. Thanks for watching.